The 2020 Breakthrough Prize in Life Sciences, Fundamental Physics and Mathematics recognizes incredible scientific discoveries, ranging from the biological basis of obesity to the first image of a supermassive black hole. IFLScience had the chance to sit down with some of the winners and ask them about their work and how it feels to win such a prestigious accolade.
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted and really honored to share it with colleagues such as Kendrick Smith and Joe Dunkley as well. So yeah, I would say multi-messenger astronomy really is allowing us a kind of new perspective and new insights into the most, I think, fundamental objects in the universe, such as black holes, neutron stars, and really allowing us to actually answer very, I guess, deep questions about the nature of space-time, gravity, extreme matter. As well as that, they're very interesting because we can use them actually as probes, for instance, to actually map out the expansion history of the local universe, understand something when we have hopefully hundreds to thousands of these kind of binary black hole mergers and neutron star mergers, how to understand how the universe came into being in terms of the large scale structure, galaxies, etc. So I think it really is just a completely new way of looking at the universe through gravitational waves, but the combination with sort of observing light at the same time as well as high energy particles is really allowing us sort of to piece together all the jigsaw puzzles in understanding these, amazing, very violent, but, I think fascinating kind of events that are happening in the universe, such as black hole mergers.
It's amazing for me and the team to win this Breakthrough Prize. It acknowledges one of the key aspects of discovery these days, which is that you need a large team to do something that is so tremendous. To take the first image of a black hole, it's very emotional for all of us. Mostly, we feel very engaged with scientists who came before us, and also scientists who will come after us. We're part of some big, long legacy, and I think that's what the Breakthrough Prize really acknowledges. It's a great moment. It's an iconic picture for science. But more than that, it tells us something about how black holes feed, how they dynamically exist in the centers of galaxies. So on the one side of the ring, it's bright. On the other side, it's dim. And that shows you that gas is moving at near the speed of light around this black hole, circularizing around this black hole. That had never been seen before. So right away, we understand that decades of simulation, of theory, are now on very solid footing. And now we can begin to use these images to further test those theories and also to test Einstein's theories of gravity. So this is really a cosmic laboratory that we have access to for the first time. Whenever we make a discovery like this, scientists celebrate a bit, but then they're always hungry for more. So what we're thinking about now is to make movies, real-time movies of black holes. Imagine being at the black hole, watching it evolve before your eyes. We think this is possible in the next decade.
Wow, it's an incredible experience, honor. I'm really thrilled to be part of this. Well, we study the mechanisms that regulate food intake and body weight. Many people in the lay public think that how much we eat and how much we weigh is under voluntary control. But there's a long history indicating that food intake and body weight is controlled by basic centers in the brain that control a variety of drives. The question, of course, is what are the molecules that represent this drive? And we identified an important one, which is a hormone called leptin. And the aggregate information suggests that body weight and food intake are regulated by a feedback loop that functions similarly to a thermostat. And it seems to be acceptable to treat obese people with less respect than you would lean people. And so, in this case, we know so much more about it than many of these other disorders. And all the evidence suggests that obesity has a very strong biological component. So I think knowing that, leads us to the conclusion that maybe we shouldn't be blaming people for characteristics that are as part of who they are as being tall or short is. And the evidence is the genetics of height are not terribly different than the genetics of weight.
It is amazing, and I never thought that I would win this prize. It's really an incredible recognition of the body of work, a work that myself and my husband have done together. So I was working on the cytoskeleton of the nervous system of neurons, a group of proteins called neurofilament. And initially, a long time ago in the 80s, people thought that those structures are actually neurofibrillary tangles. And because they were able to detect some neurofilament in neurons in patients with Alzheimer's disease. But as it turned out that that's not the case, we actually spent a lot of time in trying to purify tangles from Alzheimer's brain and really to determine whether or not it's neurofilament or something else. And it turned out to be something else. What's wrong with the brain? Because if you have neurodegenerative diseases, and particularly that these diseases are not found in animals, they're only in people. So the only way you can study them is to study people's brain, and when they die, what happened? Try to reconstruct, what goes wrong, and that lead to dementia. So we decided to use a different approach, is to see whether or not if we take brain pathology from human disease brain and then inject it into wild-type mice, and whether there or not the pathology in the human will then induce the normal protein in the mouse, the equivalent of the normal protein in the mouse, to become transformed and misfolded.
It's a pretty astounding thing. There's a lot of, well, first of all, there are a lot of great scientists who have been recognized by this, so being placed in that group is sort of an amazing thing. So I just wanted to go in and help lay the groundwork for just the most very basic questions of how do we detect things in our environment that cause pain. So toxins have been used by many people to study proteins on the surface of cells, receptors and ion channels, and use them as chemical tools to understand how they work. And that's because animals like plants need to defend themselves, and they do this through having this chemical warfare going on, where they just by the beauty of evolution devise these or develop compounds that interact with specific sites in our bodies. And we like to do that work also, especially students in my lab, just because it's it's cool stuff. I mean, it's really sort of, again, it's like neuroethology. It's where the natural world meets molecular biology, and you get to understand how these animals have evolved toxins that very specifically interact with these different proteins, and how they change with evolution, how they've learned to sort of fit into these receptors like a piece of a puzzle. I mean, it's really beautiful stuff in terms of the biochemistry of it, but it also gives us a lot of clues as to how these channels can be manipulated by, say, man-made drugs eventually to control their activities.
It was really elevating. I've been flying high ever since. It's been incredible. Supergravity came from supersymmetry. And supersymmetry was a very elegant theory, but it left gravity out. And a good theory has to include gravity. There's just no question about that.
And when one invokes supersymmetry in Einstein's theory of gravitation, one is led to a new theory, which is not in contradiction with Einstein's theory. It's an extension of it. And this extension contains a principle of supersymmetry. So that is the way how we came with supergravity. We wanted to see whether Einstein's theory of general relativity can be generalized to contain a new symmetry principle. This symmetry principle is supersymmetry.
I mean, it brings gravity together with quantum mechanics. It brings gravity together with particle physics. And interest in our theory mushroomed since then. There have been over 15,000 papers. But now you asked, in specific subjects, we can only talk about models because the gravitino has not been discovered yet. The other heavy particles required by supersymmetry haven't been discovered yet. They have to lie beyond the energy reach of the LHC. I believe there's a moral imperative for supersymmetry and supergravity. With good luck, the particle of cold dark matter might be discovered, and that may not take many years. That's a question of luck, and it hasn't happened yet.
You need a global team to build a global telescope, and not just because we want to get the best expertise from around the world. We're able to do this sidestepping all the politics, all the crazy stuff that tends to divide people. And somehow this black hole, 55 million light years away, has brought us together. I think that's pretty amazing.